and welcome to Kicking It with Sensei and another day of our Female Warrior Week. And today we're joined by Katherine Weiczerza.
Very
Hopefully I
good.
got that right.
That was very good.
And thank you for joining us today. And if you'd just like to give our audience a little bit of background into your martial arts.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for reaching out and connecting with me. Gosh, let's see. I started practicing Taekwondo back on June 18th, Monday, June 18th, 1979. So we're coming up on, well, I've passed the 40-year mark doing martial arts. And then it's now been over 20 years that I got involved in Goju through Soke Dave McNeil, and then now the current Soke Larry Koyman, who introduced us.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that for quite a while too. I tend to find things that I like and stick with them. So that's kind of where it is. I've been involved in competition, both as a competitor, a coach, and an official, and run small classes, at the Y and in local gyms, and then I've run a couple of businesses, and yeah, martial arts went from being something I did to someone, part of who I am.
Yeah.
And I imagine it'll be that way until I'm no longer around.
Yeah, cool. And you definitely stuck with it anyway. Over 40 years, it's a lifetime. But what first got you interested in martial arts way back 40 years ago? What first drew you into martial arts?
So when I was, I moved around a lot. Before I was 14, we'd moved 26 times. My father was a first generation American, and he felt like, just right over there, it was going to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And we were living down at the very bottom tip of Texas, Brownsville, Texas. And I was probably in fifth, sixth grade. So that was, gosh, how old would I have been? I don't know, young. And we went by this shopping mall, right? Strip mall, this kind of little strip of shops. And there was a martial arts school with the windows all covered, and I was like, oh, I really want to take karate. And my father said to me, he goes, oh, you don't have very good patience. You get upset with somebody and you'd cause a problem. And I'm like, no, I'd really do it. I'd really like it. And we had that conversation. And then nothing happened. And then when I was 14, we were living in Houston, Texas, which is more up towards the middle of the state. And my father passed. And we ended up moving to Nashville, Tennessee. A year earlier, we had been there, and I had some relatives living here, and we came to visit them. And we went to pick up one of the kids in the family, and they were at this martial arts school. Again, same kind of strip mall, right? Little building, and we walked in to pick up the young boy who was probably 10 at the time or whatever. And I saw this class going on, and there was a young girl who was about my age, curly brown hair. She had a black belt on. And when you're a teen, a new teenager, and at least for girls, a lot, it's like all about your friends, right?
Yeah.
And ooh, that girl looks so cool, and I would love to know her and have a friend like that. And wouldn't it be cool to do something like this? And it reminded me, my father was alive at that time, of a conversation that we had had so much earlier. Well, a year later, he passed. We ended up moving to that area. And it's a small kind of suburb of Nashville called Bellevue, and they have an annual picnic. And we went there, and guess who was doing a demonstration? So we moved there on June 1st, and on June, had to be 16th, because it was a Saturday, they were having this picnic, and there was this school, and they were demonstrating stuff. And so I ran over to the side, and they came off the stage as they finished, and I just saw that same girl. Her name was Laura Hooper at the time. And I grabbed her arm. I said, how do I sign up? And she said, just come to the school on Monday. I went in on Monday with my mom. I signed up, and I just never stopped. You start for reasons that, for a kid, at that time. I just moved to a new place. I saw something that looked really cool, someone who looked really cool. You want friends. And there was a big hole in my life. My father had just died. It was just me and my mom. You know, you feel bad, you feel an emptiness, and you want to feel better and you want to
Yeah.
feel safe. And kind of all those things appealed to me initially. And then I started doing it, and I'd been a big roller skater, right?
Yeah.
I'd roller skated a lot.
Yeah.
So I had super strong legs, and that happens to work out really well with Taekwondo. So I found out I was pretty good at it. And it just has been a passion all my life.
Perfect. And do you think you've got much out of Taekwondo outside of the dojan? Like, have you got a lot of
Oh, for
life
sure.
skills out of it? And how do you think it's
Yeah.
developed you as a person outside the dojan?
I have a sweatshirt that with one of my quote unquote sayings is self-defense for your life, not just your body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, body, mind, and spirit,
Yeah.
right? Physical, mental, and emotional. I'm a teacher at heart anyway. I've worked in education all my life. I still work at a kindergarten through 12th grade private school where I'm the director of technology. But
Okay.
I've always worked in schools, always. And education and teaching, it's something I'm going to have on my headstone. I want someone to say she was a teacher, right? In my epitaph or whatever, because sharing what you have not only increases it for them, it does for you too. Like there's no better way to learn more about what you know than to try to teach it.
Yeah.
But having said that, um, martial arts provides the opportunity to connect with people on all three of those realms just naturally,
Yeah.
right? And it's part of what I believe people love about sports, right? There's the physical, the mental, and the emotional. And, sometimes one door's blocked and it's easier to go in another and then find that it's the same room all along, right? So having all three ways to kind of interact and affect and connect with someone is amazing. Um, the difference, I think, between an art and a sport is that a sport is limiting, right? You have to be a certain age range, not younger than this and not older than this.
Yeah.
Nolan Ryan is a super amazing baseball player, right? Super amazing baseball pitcher. And he could pitch faster than you and I could pitch now, even as old as when he was well out of the baseball game. But that wasn't fast enough to still be playing,
Yeah.
right? So there's limits that are put on it. There's also skill set. You have to perform at a certain level to play.
Yeah.
And art is different. Like an art allows you to participate at whatever age, whatever level, doesn't matter if anyone likes it or not. It's about participation and expression. And you can do it forever. So I was a big I imagine you call it football, soccer player in
Yeah.
the United States, right? I played all through college and I played after college and I tore my knees up. Funny thing, right? Not in martial arts with all the kicking, but in soccer because that was a game, I mean,
Yeah.
you're about to score, I got to stop you no matter the cost or, whatever. And I injured my knees really badly, wore them down, injured them, and had to have a lot of surgeries on them. I'm still doing martial arts. I'm still kicking. I'm still doing things, but I don't play sport soccer anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like being a writer. Doesn't matter whether someone likes your book, doesn't matter whether they agree with what you say. So long as you're writing, you're a writer.
Yeah.
So long as you paint a picture, doesn't matter whether someone likes it or doesn't. If you're painting, you're a painter.
Yeah.
So, we talk about the do part, like taekwondo, judo, karate do. The do is about the doing of it. It's the art, it's the way of life.
Yeah.
And as long as you're actively participating, you have an opportunity to get expression. So unlike so many things, martial arts has gone into every aspect of my life. You know, it's taught me to be more patient. It's given me a survivor and thriver mentality. It's taught me through martial arts competition how to lose without losing. So how to be not maybe the winner, but not the loser unless I behave that way,
Yeah.
right? It's taught me when I had my knee replaced. In 2012, I had my left knee replaced. I had the therapist. They get you right back up and they get you walking and into therapy just like that, right?
Yeah.
And the therapist, my therapist was gone on a vacation. So I came in and I walked in, and this was a week after having my knee replaced. I walked in without a cane, without anything. I just walked in, and the substitute therapist looked at me and said, "What are you here for?" And I said, "Well, it's my appointment time. I'm here to work." And she said, No. I'm supposed to have somebody who had a knee replaced last week." I'm like, "That's me." And they were like, No, get up. Let me see you walk." I'm like, "Okay." You know, it's
Yeah.
like, "How are you doing that?" And I said, "I want to get moving again.
Yeah.
I don't want to just get out of pain. Like, I want to do stuff again. And I'm motivated." Right. And, you know, short-term pain, long-term gain thing that we hear, looking for the longer picture, all of that made me the patient that everybody wanted to have because, and I followed directions well. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, there's so much about martial arts that, you know, we had a flood in 2010 here in Nashville. We
Yes. I
had eight and
remember.
a half feet of water. 8.5 feet. So how tall are you, sir?
What, 6 foot? Right, just
Okay.
under 6 foot. So
So that means your arms probably like from your center to your fingers is probably 3 feet,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you stand up, raise your arm over your head, and that's about as high as the water was in our house. Destroyed everything.
Yeah.
And I think without the fortitude I'd learned in martial arts, without the community that is around me, I don't think we would have made it through. Not because of the flood, but because of the perseverance required afterwards to put our life back together. I mean, the martial arts community that you build, you know, Dave McNeil, Larry Koyman, our motto in Goju-Shorei is those who teach and train together become family,
Yeah.
right? And so I had people, our house flooded, and then on Tuesday morning, it was that weekend, Tuesday morning, three of my top students, one from Louisville, who's north of Nashville, Louisville, Kentucky, one from Atlanta, south and east, and one from mid Florida, were on my doorstep on Tuesday morning. All three of them called each other. They flew in. These are not like first degree students who are enthralled with you because they think that you know more than you do. These are my students who've been with me 20 years.
Yeah.
They showed up on my doorstep not to direct other people, but with shovels and boots and rubber gloves and how can we help? You know, I mean, my son is adopted from Russia. And I adopted him when he was very, very young, 20 some years ago. And the adoption agency said, "Well, you don't seem to have a very big family." I said, "Really? I'm going to pick up a phone. I can call 10 people. I don't even have to tell them why. I can say, 'I need you. Please come.' And they'll be outside as soon as they can get here. Do you have that?" You know, so I mean,
Yeah.
the connections you forge, the internal opportunities you have to grow far surpass the physical. But the physical, learning to deal with difficult things, that's one of the best ways to learn the internal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you teach someone confidence? Wouldn't it be nice if there was a little button we could go and just
That
like
would.
press or tweak them or adjust this or say, here, put your ponytail up a little higher. Now you'll have more confidence.
Yeah.
You know, wouldn't that be great? But there's
Oh, good
not.
grief.
So how do we do that? We give them challenges, physical challenges,
Yeah.
and they accomplish those. And then the more they accomplish, the more confident they become as they take bigger and bigger challenges.
That's it.
I mean, martial arts is an incredible tool in the hands of someone who's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, definitely. And I always appreciate the community of it.
Yeah.
I've started this YouTube about just over 6 months ago now. And one of the first things I done was a female warrior week. So I wanted to promote female empowerment as a father of 3 young daughters. And last year was so much work and I just
Yeah.
about got enough. And over the last 6 months, chatting to a lot of instructors from around the world, this year I kind of reached out to 2 or 3 of them, and I've got so many people involved now.
Right.
And Laurie was great, like connecting ourselves, and I know some of the students as well is going to come on and do a little bit, and it was just so much community spirit, and everybody was just there to support and help, and it was fantastic to see. And I've never met Laurie in person or any of these other people, and yet I've got all these interviews and master classes coming at me now, and I've had to do very little work this time around. Everybody's just kind of jumped on and supported, and it was just a great sense of community within martial arts.
Well, we're the same kind of people, right? And you know that. You know it's somebody who cares. I always say to be a martial artist long term, you have to be passionate,
Yeah.
right? Not just like it. Like you have to have passion, not obsession. And you know, I'm sure you've seen someone who is
Myself for a
obsessed.
long time.
But that's dangerous in some
Yeah.
ways to yourself and others. Like, but the passion, when it's passion, it's the kind of thing where people go, I don't understand that, but I see that it's good or that you really love it. Like that's it, right?
Yeah.
And then there's persistence, right? Staying with it. Like so many things are temporary nowadays, and to be able to stay with something over time, like those people understand the good and the bad, the hard and the easy. So that persistence when the passion isn't there tells you it's somebody you can trust. And then the last piece, is patience, because things don't work. I mean, 2020 is a perfect example of nothing working out the way we expect, but we're still here. Patience with ourselves and others. So those are three pretty amazing qualities. And people who've been doing martial arts, I don't care what martial art it is, for a long, long time, like they typically have those three qualities. And those are pretty decent qualities in someone you want to know and have a relationship with, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
whether you kick or punch or throw someone or joint lock them or whatever, you got to have that for long term. So I think, for me, the biggest thing is not just being a martial artist, but how long have you been a martial artist? How long do you want to be a martial artist? And the longer you stay in it, the more you get from it.
Yeah, definitely. And you've been involved yourself for 40 years. Do you think things have changed for females in martial arts since you first started till now? Do you
Oh,
think?
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first tournament I went to, because I was a big competitor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we joked, my son, one time I was feeling really depressed one Christmas, and we were sitting around playing a game of Monopoly, our family, and he said, just stop, Mom. You're about to lose. Just divide your money up with the rest of us. And I looked at him and went, that was a huge mistake on your part. And then, 4 a.m., I cleaned them all out. But
Yeah.
so I'm competitive. I admit I'm competitive. I went to my very first tournament, and there weren't women on any of the trophies,
Yeah.
only guys, because there just weren't women competing. So many tournaments I would go to, there wouldn't be, even anybody in my divisions. And there weren't many women in class.
Yeah.
That's definitely changed. You see more and more high ranking women who stayed in it for a long time. And it's not just because someone in their family had, right? Originally, you'd see husband and wives start together or mothers and kids start together. But then when one would stop, the other one would too. And now you see people taking and enjoying it for themselves and that it's okay and it's good. Um, One of the changes in martial arts I'm not such a fan of is all the focus on the kids, right?
Yeah.
Like in the United States, kids programs and after school programs are probably the predominant market. Whereas when I started, it was the other way around. Adults all took. And if you were a kid in class, you had to have special,
Yeah.
permission, or there was one or two kids classes a week, but the majority were for adults. I love the fact that we're working with kids because I think, like we talked about, physical, mental, and emotional, there's so many ways to engage someone, right?
Yeah.
And kids need that. And the respect and the stick to itness. I mean, all of those things are phenomenal. And in fact, Larry Coyman's Family First Martial Arts, one of the best kids programs I can recommend. But like I feel like as adults, um, there's a lack. Like there's a sense like if I can't kick as high as I used to kick, then I shouldn't be doing it at all. Or I can't spar or whatever as long as I used to. So, that I shouldn't do it. Like I can't do it like I used to, right? And why should you? You should be doing something different now, right? We got to
Yeah.
keep progressing. And I love that you see as big divisions for women and girls as you do for guys nowadays. I love that you see women instructors, women self-defense classes. I mean, think about how many self-defense classes you've either seen or heard advertised that were taught by men, right? And while that's not a bad thing, where are the women in that for women's self-defense? So the opportunities are just exploding. I mean, I'm an 8th degree in Taekwondo now. And I hope to be a 9th degree, which is as high as you can get in Taekwondo in my organizations. Like once that I can get there, then other people can come, right? More can come. So I think it's just possibilities are open now, right? You don't have to choose them as much. You can there's as many things as you can imagine. You want to be a head instructor? My first instructor said a woman shouldn't be a head instructor. Let a man be the head instructor and you do all the work behind. And that's no you laugh at that now, but that wasn't the case
It's
before,
yeah, it was. I
right?
remember. Yeah.
So
Definitely remember.
now it's a different thing and it's not thought as not being feminine, right?
Yeah.
We recognize that it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love it.
Yeah. One of the things that this Female Warrior Week's taught me that there's a lot of female martial artists out there that have really persevered over the years and worked twice as hard as most of their male counterparts and have actually reached the pinnacle of their martial arts journey. And it's unbelievable to see how strong and empowered these women are and how inspirational they are to myself and other martial artists. It's fantastic to see that, like, and they've been doing it since back when it wasn't the norm to have females
Yes.
in classes, which is really the inspiration behind it. They had a strength that most of us wouldn't even come close to.
Have you heard about Mrs. Judo? I was just checking. I've got, of course, multiple computers going on here because that's my day
Yeah,
job, right? Mrs. Judo, be strong, be gentle, be beautiful.
I've heard it.
You should watch that.
Yeah,
It's a really great thing. And that's kind of, she's been not someone I ever met, but a role model in terms of that for me. Like you can be strong, be gentle, be beautiful. You can keep going. You should take a look at that. It's really she passed not too long ago, I believe, but I love that. And I shared that with a lot of my women students.
yeah,
It's funny, people ask me a lot like, are most of your senior students female? And they're not. I have 7 7th degree students who are instructors throughout, around the country. Only one of the 2 of those are female. The
yeah,
rest are all male. But I have strong female students and male because to me it's like I want a strong student.
yeah,
Right? I want a strong student. I want you to love what you're doing. I want you to continue to grow. If you're male, you're going to have challenges. If you're female, you're going to have challenges. We're going to face them together,
yeah.
right? But it is nice to have more peers these days, is I guess what I would say. And the connections that we can make via Zoom and other things is really lovely. That's what I love about what you're doing. You know, some people don't have another person their rank or role model near them, and you're helping them see and connect, and that's super important.
Thanks. And who would have been your role models throughout your journey in martial arts?
You know, this gentle the lady I was talking about, Mrs. Judo, you know, from the Be Strong, Be Gentle,
Yeah.
Be Beautiful judo person. I didn't even find out about her until about 4 or 5 years ago. My first role model in martial arts was probably the first person I was telling you about, Lori Hooper,
Yeah.
the young woman that I saw in that class, and then I came and joined, and she and I became friends. And you know, I can remember in my room practicing to make my knife hand look, you know, just exactly like the way
Yeah.
she did hers, and to try to kick like her and all that. It was interesting. Eventually, she graduated college. She was actually older than me. She left, came back, and actually became my student at one point because I had continued on. And we stayed in touch for a long time. I still look back at that time and think about the power of really enjoying what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? Like there's so many ways people think about teaching, and they think about the methodology, right? Make sure you give audio and physical and visual. But there's something really powerful that about I do a talk about can I have some of that? You know, have you ever had someone say, "Hey, you want something to eat?" And you go, "No, no, 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 I'm good." And then you see them eating some of it, and it looks so good, and they look like they're enjoying it so much.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you're like, can I have a little? Can I have a taste of that?" And they look at you and like, "I thought you didn't want any." You know, I always try to participate. I think about that drew me in, like watching her enjoying it so much. And I always try to replicate that myself, right?
Yeah.
I try to replicate that myself and remember to just enjoy what I'm doing so much. Like if I'm loving it and passionate about it, it rubs off. You know,
Yeah.
people get caught up in it. So there's that. Big role model for me was my mom.
Yeah.
My mom was just a force of nature and a little short thing who people just loved, and she had a love of life, and she believed in me, and so I could take chances and believe in myself.
Yeah.
And she supported me. I mean, from my very first testing to my seventh degree testing, she never missed one, right? Even wherever they were or whatever was going on, she never missed a support. When I tested for my eighth, she had just passed 3 years earlier, and I never thought I'd test again. I thought, how could I?
Yeah.
Um, and I still feel she was there, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, she's just the strength that come from being authentically you, uh, and just making people feel glad, you know, because you're around. That was a really big thing. Competition wise, I think the first person I really kind of admired was Arlene Lemus when she won the gold medal in, I believe it was 1988 in Taekwondo, the first person to win a gold medal. And I just thought, wow, like something I do, you know, someone could be there. And just kind of watching her coach and stuff. And I had the privilege to get to know her much better later. And you know, it's a hard thing to be, I think, someone's role model for something without them knowing about it, right? Because it's an unfair kind of label to put on someone. And you know, ultimately, people are people, and there's a real big positive to learn in that too, right?
Yeah.
That you look, there's so much that you can pick and choose from everyone around you that you can model after, but nobody, um you know, we're talking about the different people, no one person. Like I could name 10 of my students right off the top of my head and tell you a quality that I admire in them and that I try to, you know, follow. So
Yeah.
I guess that's the biggest thing I would say is that when you're talking about role models, don't look for one,
Yeah.
right? Find a quality or something you admire in someone and take that, or work on that. And then someone else find something else, or find the same thing in someone else. Because all of us are bits and pieces, and we can learn from everyone. You know,
Yeah.
the youngest student who comes in and scared to death, and they walk in anyway. How brave is that,
Yeah.
right?
It's
You know, the senior student who continues to be a student
yeah.
and get up and do their thing, knowing that this large audience expects beyond what they could possibly ever bring, right?
Yeah.
Because they have unrealistic expectation, but who gets up and tries anyway. Brene Brown talks about the Dare Greatly poem. You know, the man in the arena who dares greatly, like that's the person, that's what you want to be. Get in the arena, try.
Yeah.
Everybody has something to learn from. But, you know, there are key moments where you meet someone and you think, that's somebody that can point the way. And we just have to keep our eyes open because they're all over the place. I mean, I was just thinking about you on the way here today, honestly. I was thinking, look, here's someone who's doing this, right? We talked about
Yes.
being an artist versus wanting to, and you're out doing this. Like you're making a difference, you know, and that's reaching out to people you don't know that well and taking a chance.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's like, yeah, I got to remember to do that more and get out of my comfort zone more.
Thanks.
So you've been a role model for me today.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. But I know of myself now. It was actually a shock to me about 18 months ago. I remember I had a young girl come into the dojo, and she's only 5, but so nervous her first class, and even
Right.
for the first few months, very nervous. And but a year after she joined us, we had a tournament between our local clubs, and she won everything she entered. She won, and just so much drive and just strength in her. It's kind of motivated me more to kind of really push myself to kind of give her the best opportunities coming up
Right.
as her instructor. But I've never seen someone's confidence just 180 so much in 1 year. It was unbelievable to see. I wouldn't embarrass her by naming her on the podcast now, but it's but it really sparked my passion again for martial arts to see someone come through that so quickly. And she's feisty. She's definitely something to watch out for.
Well, and I think that's kind of what I was saying about, you know,
Mm,
originally, like, you know, the person who got me into it was a role model. My mom was a
mm,
role model throughout my whole life. When you think though, like technically of a role model, right? Like
mm.
my thought immediately went to when I was thinking of Arlene Lemus winning the
Yeah,
gold medal and all that. But really kind of those are the kind of like that kind of role model is an obvious kind of role model. And there have been
yeah,
so many more that are like my instructor now, Dave McNeil, right? He's beat cancer numerous times. He's beat polio. He's beat arthritis. He, you know, for his his birthday, he always does like his 80th birthday, did 800 push-ups in the day, right? I mean, and it's just chunking them out 25 at a time, right? I mean,
yeah,
that kind of like what you find the longer you're in is that it's not the spectacular newsworthy role models that
yeah,
really drive you, it's the people around you. When we have testings or seminars, you know, I tell people, you know, people go to all kinds of motivational things and spend lots of money. I go to testings and watch people. I go to classes and watch people overcome their fears and, you know, or grow, like you just said, or
mm,
take a chance and meet success, or take a chance, like board breaking. I'm a big proponent of board breaking because of the metaphor that it is
mm,
something hard between you and where you want to go,
yeah,
the other side of that board. And sometimes people hit it and they just go right through. And sometimes people hit it and they don't go through. Like, what do you do? How do you handle that? You know, do you focus on the problem or do you focus on getting through it? Right?
yeah,
So that metaphor of just, you know, if you think about it, I have a kid's book in me someday that I'm going to write, I say, about, you know, the kid who breaks a board the first shot and everybody applauds, right? and then a relative gets up and they hit the board, a littler kid, right? And they hit the board and they don't break it, and they hit it and hit it and hit it. And finally, like the 10th try, they break it. What does everybody do? Wah! Why? Because it's that overcoming of a hardship. I mean, it's the same single board, right? But when someone doesn't give up on something hard and then eventually succeeds, it gives us all hope.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So I've now found in the majority of my martial arts life that my role models are people that I know. I just need to pay more attention to what's going on all around me.
Yeah. One of the things I found with this podcast was I remember growing up, I was a big fan of the Karate Kid movies, and
Oh yeah.
that really inspired me. That's what got me into martial arts originally. And I've followed a lot of guys like Benny the Jet Arquedas not growing up, and was a big fan of his. But in the last 6 months, I've spoke to all these people and realized how humble they are, and how I've always looked up to them as if they're movie stars and they're out of my reach. But to sit down and have a discussion with them was unbelievable. To realize how humble and how modest they are, and it's just going through their own journey, and it's re-inspired me as well. It's kind of they're no longer the big movie star kind of thing. They're an inspiration for their sort of life skills, the patience and respect and modesty of what they have achieved was an inspiration now.
Yeah, it's that's that same kind of thing. Like you think of someone because of what they've done,
Yeah.
but when you know really people, it's not what they've done or what they've achieved as much as what they had to go through
Yeah.
and what kind of person they are while they're achieving things, right? Like it's the journey. The destination might be what piques your interest and catches your attention, but it's that person making that journey that is what is ultimately inspiring.
Excellent, definitely. And you've been training a long time, but would you have a favorite aspect of training? Would it be sparring or weapons, or be something you have a real passion for?
Yeah. So I'm the head of Goju Weapons, which are street legal weapons. So the cane, carabiner, flashlight, rolled up magazine, stuff you can take with you anywhere that
Yeah.
adds to your everyday life, not just as a weapon. So I'm always I love that. I'm also a gun enthusiast. I've done a lot of shooting and um, range stuff, and I wanted to even that out, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm also, because of that, like in the self-defense kind of weaponry and options, I'm also working on a master's degree in conflict management. I'm down to my last capstone project on that.
Yeah.
And so kind of what and ultimately when it comes then to weapons, it's about extending your abilities and options,
Yeah.
right? Beyond just what you have normally at hand.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated by that in a lot of ways, right? But it needs to be something that is good for your whole life, right? Not just, did I lose you? Or are you there? Okay.
Yeah.
You froze for a second on my screen.
Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. No, it kind of clicked for a second, and we've had some storms come through, so I wanted to make sure I didn't lose you.
Yeah.
But just kind of what you can add to your everyday life that then also gives you an advantage in a stressful situation, whether that's physical, mental, or emotional. So in that sense, weapons have become a real passion of mine, but not just for the sake of the weapon itself. In addition, I would say out of, not beyond that, I'm a big fan of application out of patterns. And so particularly the older forms, right?
Yeah.
Most people think of fighting and they think of sparring, but fighting and sparring are different, right? Fighting is a conflict between two people. Sparring is a game with rules.
Yeah.
And sparring's fun, and I loved it when I was doing a lot when I was younger. But if you come down to an altercation, really the older patterns,
Yeah.
are about dealing with people in close and in a very intense situation.
Yeah.
And I love Ian Abernathy's stuff. I love the Karate Nerd stuff. I love looking deeper at stuff,
Yeah.
not just wider. And that naturally takes you to the older sets of patterns and looking deeper and deeper and possibilities of, you know, what is this?
Yeah.
Not just, what is this? Not just that. What is this? Um, I'm a real fan of depth, not just breadth.
Yeah.
And so I'm currently the chief referee for forms competition in AAU. And that's a different kind of thing, but patterns and forms are a passion for me. And my students will sometimes frustratingly tell you I require them to learn quite a few of them so that they can have a common language with anybody who does any set of patterns,
Yeah.
right? Not just for the movements, but to have a conversation underneath about what things might be. So, yeah, I love stuff with depth.
Definitely. And you mentioned Ian Abernathy there. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of his as well. He was on
Yeah.
the podcast about 2 months ago. But his insights to kata and the Japanese martial
Right.
arts now it's unparalleled. It's 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 unbelievable the depth that he actually goes to, and
Right?
yeah.
I mean, how can you not? I mean,
Mm.
you have to, well, it goes back to the passion, right? Like to look at something and not look at it the same way you've looked at it all your life
Yeah.
or even the last 10 times, but to look at it one more different way, deeper, another use for it, and appreciate other people. I mean, that's just stuff that, gets me really, really excited.
Yeah. And you mentioned the weapons as well. Would you have a favorite weapon?
Well, the cane is probably my all-time favorite, followed up probably by the flashlight. And we could do a whole thing sometime if you want. We have an entire system where you can rank through it, but I'd also do tend to do short seminars where, we call everyday items, things that you have with you that then are beneficial. And, self-defense goes beyond just a physical altercation with someone. I mean, if you think about the time that you stubbed your toe and then you couldn't walk, well, how many times we just had a huge set of storms come through. You're going to find a flashlight within reach of anywhere you are in my house.
Yeah.
If the lights go out, you're not going to be looking for stuff. How many times I travel on the airplane, someone drops something underneath a seat and I pull out the flashlight and they can find it. I mean, it's not, you're walking at night. Who's someone more likely to attack? Someone who's not paying attention walking in the dark or someone who's shining a light? Plus the whole metaphor of shining a light into the darkness. I mean, that's just such a positive thing. Canes, a walking cane is seen as a sign of weakness by so many people, right? You have an injury, you need support. We'll just have to do another time, but I'll give you a show about some things you can do with this that you don't have to walk like you're injured. You don't have to just use it when you're hurt.
Yeah.
It's essentially give me a big enough lever, I'll move the world, right?
Yeah.
I've walked down our school hallways carrying a stick just about this long. And if you walk down carrying a stick, people look at you really funny. You walk down carrying a beautiful cane, and people are like, are you injured? Do you need some help?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a totally different reaction, right? Even if I just have it draped over my arm, they're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
So we talk about Goju-shori weapons as something that should be something that starts a conversation, not a confrontation.
Yeah.
But it's going to also give me an advantage if I need one. I use this to reach under the couch to get the cat toys out. A box on a high shelf, I can get it down. When I've actually had injuries and needed help walking, I knew that if you think about it, when you're injured, you can't leave a situation as easily, right?
Yeah.
So when my knee was replaced, I couldn't run away from a problem if there was one. I was going to have to stand and deal with it. It's nice to have something with me that doesn't exacerbate it, but I can definitely use it to my advantage. It's going to be an incredible lever. I say this is often like another hand. This is like another foot. the ranges from distance, close. I had a student one time, who I won't embarrass by naming him. We did this knife seminar with somebody, and it was a great knife seminar. And afterwards, he was like, "This is the best weapon to have," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Okay, you get that padded knife over there. We're gonna replicate what you just learned. I'm gonna take this padded cane. But wait, I'm gonna call my instructor first because I just want him to hear this." And I set the phone down. I told him what was going on, and my student came at me, and I mean, he couldn't get anywhere close to me without me just beating the tar out of him with the cane. And he finally threw it down and said, "I give up. I give up."
Yeah.
So I love things that have multiple uses that are not confrontational. At working at a school, I can't carry a gun with me into my school. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to, but I also can't legally. This I can carry with me anywhere. A flashlight I can carry with me anywhere. It has benefits to my life just daily, not just carrying the groceries in. Let's carry them all in at once, stack them all on here. I mean, uh, I joke that I'm going to write another book, 101 uses for a cane, and the very last two will be to help me walk and to use as a self-defense thing.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
yeah, not that I saw, I just kind of got a little bit passionate about that. But yeah, no, I love what I do still.
Yeah, my students too, especially the kids, I always do a thing with them about once a year just to kind of bring in weapons a little bit. But I'll just pick a random selection of weapons. Could be bow staff, a rubber knife. I throw them out around the mats, and I'll pick one out and say, if you were going to attack me now, which is the most dangerous weapon? And I'll have a rolled up magazine in my hand,
Oh yeah,
and they'll usually pick a knife. And
yeah,
I'd say, right, you grab the knife and attack me now. And by the time they've reached the knife, I've hit them with a magazine.
yeah. Now, how do you roll up your magazine? Do you roll it up to a point at the bottom?
No, but just sort of even the
Okay.
whole way.
So here's the way I want you to roll it now. I want you to roll it like a waffle cone.
Yeah.
Okay? So that you got a nice little point at the bottom,
Oh, that's nice now.
and then you've got this here. Now, when you hit, this makes noise.
Yeah.
All right? This hurts like very, very. So really tight at the bottom, really loose at the top. You get the sound, you get the paper, so you hit up. It's awesome. And when you're messing with it, it just, this can break boards. This is big, and yeah. So just roll it like that.
And I've never thought of that now. Learn something new every day.
Hopefully, if we learn one thing new every day, like how amazing would that be, right?
Excellent now. Excellent.
Yeah.
And what advice would you have for young students starting out in martial arts, in particular young girls? And
Yeah, I mean, anybody starting out, don't let someone tell you what you cannot or can do, right? Don't let someone tell you that. Whoever that is, your family or whoever, right? Like, hopefully, or if someone tells you you can't do something, find people who believe in your dream and get them to support you, right? Martial arts schools are often picked because of location,
yeah,
right? So would you go and choose a doctor that way? Like, where's the closest doctor? I'm just going to go to him.
yeah.
Most of us don't. We ask for recommendations, like who's a good doctor, where's a good, program, and then we go to there.
Yeah.
We need to choose our martial arts schools by them being a good fit. I think even above style, right? So find a school that's a good fit to you. And you do that by being allowed to go in and try some classes. And you also do that by talking with the students way more than the instructor.
Yeah.
Right? Be able to find out from the students what the experience is like. And keep searching till you find a school that is a good fit. And then once you do, understand that it doesn't always go the way you want. And that's part of learning to overcome hardships. But if you have confidence that you found a good school, then you'll work through those hard things and it'll get better and better and better. But martial arts is not intended to be super easy. If everything is super easy, you're not growing.
Yeah.
Stay with it. The
Stick with it.
longer you stay with it, the more you'll get from it.
Yeah. And just as you said there, don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. It
Right.
always reminds me of a quote that I heard. It was actually, it fits Female Warrior Week perfectly now. It was someone once told a girl, she hits like a girl, and she turned around and said, well, if you trained hard enough, you could too.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was one of my favorite quotes now. And finally, how can people get in contact with you, Katherine, and find out more about your system?
Well, the easiest way is I have lots of emails, but the easiest one is to email me at GSWS, which is Gojishori Weapon Systems.
Yeah.
It's up there, GSWS Director at gmail.com.
Excellent.
And, or if they get a hold of you, you can connect them to me.
Definitely, that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to build unity within the martial arts and try and create a community online. So it's perfect. And it was a pleasure speaking with you today, Kathy. Thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate very much you
pleasure.
reaching out to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you know, sorry, you're doing some good work. And
Thank you.
and I don't say that because of you're talking with me. I say that because we have to understand that we're way more alike than we are different across martial arts, across countries, across genders, across, you know, like people need to support people and understand each other better. And the best way to do that is through hearing people's stories. And you're doing that. You're sharing that with folks. And you know, I'm privileged that you wanted to speak with me, and I'm honored. And you know, I hope that this is the first of many conversations we'll
Hopefully
have.
now, don't be a stranger now, Kathy, and all the best. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'll chat to you again soon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you now.